right, here we go. Krug Show on a Thursday. Hope everybody's having a phenomenal Thursday. Giants beat up the Chi Sox on the south side of Chicago. And so let's get out there for some instant reaction. A man on the street, we welcome in Vish Kumar. No, I'm just joking. Vish is joining us from the greater Illinois area, but was not at Giants Chi Sox today. But he joins us on the Pig in a Pickle Krug Show, brought to you by Pig in a Pickle. Check them out in two locations. They're in Emeryville, open Wednesday through Sunday. They're in Corte Madera, open 7 days a week. The best barbecue in all of Northern California. Pig in a Pickle. Check it out. And thanks to them for being a proud sponsor of the Krug Show. Vish, good to see you, my man. How are you? Long time no see.
I know. It's not like we just talked, less than 12 hours ago? I do have a question, though, for you from that time we talked.
Yes, fire away.
You texted me last night about doing this show, right? I responded to you this morning at 6:45 a.m.
Central.
Yeah. And you responded back with a thumbs up immediately. What the hell were you doing at 4:45 a.m.? Do you sleep, Krug?
I literally was sleeping, but I have had a hard time sleeping the last couple nights. And when I put the phone on vibrate, but then I put it on the wood nightstand next to the bed, and it reverberated. It started getting bzz, 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 and all of a sudden I looked down. What is that? And then I saw it was you, and then I think I just gave you the thumbs up emoji, right?
You did.
Yeah.
But I was like, oh my God, what's Krug doing at 4:45?
Seriously. Well, it's one of those things that if you don't deal with things like right when they come in, sometimes they start to back up on you, or you get into other parts of your day. I got 4 kids, I got a dog, I got a wife, I got, all kinds of things going on. So, sometimes like when I'm communicating on, it's like, especially if I know I'm not disturbing, I knew that you were up. Like if I would never send that to you at like 11:30 or 12 o'clock, knowing that it's like 2 o'clock in the morning Central. But when you're sending me a thing and I know you're up, I'm like, oh, I'll just give him a quick hit, because who's going to be bothered by that? Right. I mean,
to be fair, if you sent me a text at that hour, I'm probably up. I sleep anywhere between 4 to 6 hours in a night max. So I have some issues that way, but I was surprised that you messaged me back at that time. I was like, dang, maybe Krug's like still got some like lingering lazy Larry trauma that makes him get up at 4:45 a.m. and only sleep like 4 hours. So yeah.
It is one of those things where I do like to kind of present an outward image of I'm always ready. So like if I get somebody from the radio station that calls me, and let's say I'm even like crashed out, and maybe it's even like 9:30, 10 o'clock in the morning, I'll make sure I won't just answer it like laying down. Hello, hi. I'll like lean up, kind of. And I'll then answer it, be like, hello, like real, like, you're like, hey, I've been up for hours. But in reality, as soon as I hang up this phone, I'm going to crash for another hour. So, yeah. So,
that's a skill.
Yeah. Everything is not as it seems. All right. Let's get right to it, because we have Trey Lance breaking information.
Oh, yeah.
It is awesome. One thing that I got to say is the Niner passion. The passion there exists right now for 49er football, and everything attached to it is so intense that people are just like, it's like Eddie Murphy's, that comedy routine where he's like, when you're starving, even that one cracker, you're like, that was a good cracker. It's like, we get anything at all. It's like, But Trey Lance, somebody put on Twitter today a picture of Trey Lance throwing a football. We don't even see the receiver. All we really get is the ball coming out of his hands in the spiral, and some nameless, faceless guy with glasses standing in the background looking at it. He's wearing a Warrior hat, and Trey is with a blue bill, black T-shirt. And people are just like, look at that spiral. Look at that. Look at it. Look at Trey. And then immediately, Dave Lombardi and all these other people, has his release tightened, has his form changed.
And he posted a slowed down video next to the, yeah, I saw that.
It's awesome. I mean, the design and that video, by the way, on Dave's thing, has 64,000 views. More people have viewed that than would fit into Levi's Stadium. How about that? It's amazing.
I mean,
our desire for this is incredible.
I might be 10 of those views myself.
Well,
I watched it 10 times.
You watched it 10 times? Well, Niners Nation wrote a whole story about it. Kyle Posey, the great Kyle Posey, says, according to Quincy Avery, who's Lance QB coach, he's been throwing since March, and this was a slow-mo of him throwing. Did you get anything? Did you have any takeaways from Lance's slow-mo singular throw?
Yeah, so the reaction to this to me is kind of wild, right? Like, you would think Trey Lance was Tim Tebow before the way people are reacting to the a guy who was the number 3 overall pick in the draft, looking really smooth, throwing the football in t-shirt and shorts. Like, there's no way he's the number 3 pick in the draft if he doesn't look good throwing in t-shirt and shorts, right? Like, that's for one thing. But the reactions got me thinking, like, did I watch Tim Tebow before? Was that who he was before? He just couldn't throw before, and now we're seeing him throw a seed. So we're like, okay, he can throw now. Is that why people are going up in arms? I guess maybe there have been a couple of changes mechanically. It's very, very hard to decipher unless we're seeing multiple throws. Like, it could just be a certain way his body was positioned to make this one singular throw. I'm not taking much from it. The one thing I was trying to find out the one thing I was trying to find out was who was he and Mahomes throwing with. That's what I was trying to see from the pictures in the video. There's the one guy that you mentioned, right, in the glasses and the hat behind them. And then in one of the pictures, there's a guy in cleats. I just wanted to see which coach they were throwing with. We know that Trey Lance works out with Quincy Avery, but we also know that Shanahan's preference is that Trey Lance works out in Southern California with John Beck and their entire team there, right? They had Trey Lance stop his draft process when he was working out with Quincy Avery and then go work out with John Beck before they drafted him. So I was just interested to see who he was throwing with as he goes through this offseason. But other than that, what am I really supposed to do with one 20-second clip of him looking good throwing the football? I mean, he looked good. His arms, his legs, like, he looked good. What do you want me to say?
Yeah. You know what an awesome if somebody had put out just him just throwing just the most wobbly duck of all time, and then and then everybody behind covering their eyes like, oh my God, that was awful. I mean, something like that would be hilarious. I mean, if I was Trey, if he knew how he's being scrutinized, and just to give you a flavor of the reaction, all right, here's one guy's reaction on Twitter. If y'all ignoramuses out there that can't see that Trey Lance's throwing mechanics has improved off that one clip, then your eyes is suffering from old age. Just keeping it a buck, whatever that.
You know what I can't wait for?
Awesome.
I've taken a personal interest because he was a quarterback I studied before the draft in Sam Darnold's career. So I've seen the Sam Darnold offseason content of him throwing with Jordan Palmer every offseason, because every offseason they say Darnold was going to take the big jump. Remember? And he never made the big jump in New York or in Carolina. Dude, just wait till the clips of him throwing start to come out. Look at how he looks throwing in t-shirt and shorts. Remember the way he threw the ball in the rain in that USC Pro Day? He didn't even have to throw, and he impressed everybody with his small hands coming out and throwing in the rain. So just wait till the Sam Darnold clips come out, because I'm sure he's going to look really, really good throwing in that exact same situation too.
Oh, and Rich Madrid, who follows me, and I think I follow him. It says I'm following Rich Madrid. He works for Niners Nation, I guess 49ers All 22.
Yes, good friend of mine.
Okay, good. I'm glad I'm highlighting a guy that you know here. He actually tweeted, he says, that video of Trey throwing tells us literally nothing other than that he's working out this offseason. We don't need a Zapruder tape The, we don't need
I just gave that a like and a retweet.
we don't need to Zabruder tape the shit out of it. It certainly doesn't deserve this much coverage or hype. I'm retweeting it and I'm gonna say, "Amen, brother." That is awesome. And all the while, yet I lead off the great segment with you, Vish, with this topic. But it just tells us, there's not a ton to talk about. But let's get into Rich Madrid for a second, because Rich Madrid had a stat that Grant kind of went with on one of his videos that I saw from earlier today. It sounds like Grant may be in Palm Springs. He said the Niners are averaging 9.8 yards when they run a zone read run with Trey under center. They average 9.8 yards per carry. A lot of people would instantly say, yeah, well, what about the Debo run against Seattle? Doesn't that kind of distort the whole thing? Of course it does, but it takes it down to 7.7 yards per carry, which is still outstanding. The question I would have for you is this. We don't know about, we've seen a small sample size of Brock. We've seen a tiny sample size of the 49ers with Trey. Not only that, it was so early, and it's hard to even evaluate if Shanahan, again, let's say that Arizona game, was that the way Shanahan's going to call the games with Trey, or is that just the way he called it that day? You know what I mean? I personally, I think there's probably going to be some evolution there, and that was probably more about where Trey was in Kyle's mind at that point. So we ran kind of a run-heavy scheme, a lot of quarterback runs. I wasn't a fan of it. I expressed it. But let me ask you this. Do you think the 49ers averaged 35 or 33 a game with Brock Purdy in those starts? I won't even go into what they average under Trey because they haven't played enough under Trey. But you can see the differences in the two quarterbacks. Purdy's more accurate and doesn't have nearly the arm strength. He seems to really have great quickness within the pocket, but he doesn't have the explosive movement that Trey has. Trey has a big arm, a lot of speed to it, but I don't know about his downfield accuracy. We got a glimpse of Trey throwing downfield in the Green Bay preseason game to Danny Gray, hit him in stride for 6. Seems like the kind of play we may be able to see more of. We didn't really see Danny Gray flourish beyond that this year. But what do you think, Vish, as far as the Niners offense with Trey Lance, the Niners offense with Brock Purdy, projecting into the future? Is it the same offense? Can they run the same offense? Does it have to be two dramatically different offenses in your mind? And is there one that you view as superior to the other? Is the Niner offense with Brock superior to what it potentially can be with Trey Lance at quarterback? Or is Trey's arm strength and physical gifts supersede what Brock brings to the table? And you think long-term the Niner offense could be more prolific and more explosive with Trey? What do you think?
Yeah, that's a very deep question. I will say that I don't think we've been able to even see the full scope of what the offense would be with Trey Lance. I think we have an idea of that, but it's really hard to tell. Now, there are a few particular things that he has done well consistently. For example, you talked about the throw to Danny Gray, right? Like that slot fade. In the little we've been able to see him between preseason and regular season, that's one throw he's made well, right? He threw one week 1 against Chicago to Juwan Jennings, slot fade. He threw one versus the Chargers in preseason to Trent Sherfield in the 2-minute drill. That was a slot fade. Danny Gray, all the same concept, an inverted smash concept. They got a hitch and a slot fade to that side of the field, usually out of empty, and he throws the slot fade really, really well. Outside of that, it's tough to really tell. He's had some ugly misses. For example, I was going back and watching his second half against Seattle when he came in recently. I forgot that his first throw was a little naked. They gave him an easy throw to the flat to George Kittle, and he two-hopped it to him. It was one of the worst misses I can actually remember from a quarterback. And I was going back to watch for the good things of Trey Lance, and that was an ugly miss. So, he's had a few misses in there that have been particularly bad, but he's also made a few particularly amazing throws. Like he had a little hitch that he threw to Brandon Ayuk on 3rd and 2 in the Cardinals game. Absolute rip, no window. He puts it low and away, back shoulder. It was a great throw. The throw to Ray McLeod, week one, layering that ball over, the cover two defender, flat defender. Incredible throw, right? So there's been a few really great throws in there too. I think in theory, if Trey Lance hits the ceiling, or the intention is, in theory, if Trey Lance is the player that the 49ers thought he could become when they drafted him, you do all the stuff you do in the pass game with Brock Purdy and Jimmy Garoppolo, and then you have this added element of 11 on 11 in the run game, because everything in the run game is based on the zone read principle, right? All your run plays, you have an RPO package built out of it. There's something you can definitely do that way with him. Now, it's tough to see that in theory, because clearly they didn't trust him to do everything that the other two guys did in the pass game, because in a lot of pass situations like 3rd and 5, 3rd and 6 with the other two guys, they elected to run him. They would run a quarterback draw. They would run a zone read play. So it's a little bit different from that standpoint. But in theory, Larry, I do think that the offense is most prolific with Trey Lance, because his legs and his ability to be a part of the run game is an added weapon. And I do think that's part of why they drafted him. For what it's worth, Larry, like, I think Shanahan did want to have this 11 on 11 element to his run game. We've seen that, the outside zone and the stretch zone, which he's known for, the NFL has kind of got answers to stop it right now with the wider fronts, the penny fronts, the 5-2 fronts. They've got a good grasp on stopping outside zone. In fact, I would say, just off the top of my head, I don't know the actual breakdown, but just off the top of my head, and I've probably watched every snap of the 49ers multiple times this season, it was probably 50-50 on gap versus zone distribution in the run game, which, I mean, it's been increasing splits for Shanahan, but, for a team that's quote-unquote wide zone based, I mean, look at the second half against Dallas. All gap scheme, duo, stuff like that. Not necessarily your conventional outside zone run scheme. And so when you have, the NFL catching up to the run game, the quarterback element always gives you an advantage and a numbers advantage. And we know Shanahan, the first thing he wants to do is run the football. And so when you have that element, and then you can do everything in the pass game off of it as well, like, in theory, it makes most sense that the offense would be most prolific with Trey Lance's skill set. But realistically, how much of the offense can he execute? At this point, we don't know. We just don't know.
Offensive football, I mean, to break it down to its simplest element, offensive football is about creating space. Defensive football is about closing that space down. When you look at Trey, his gifts as far as movement and arm strength create a ton of space, and that's what I think he gives you. When you have that kind of arm strength and that kind of mobility, it creates room on the football field. And so I think in a lot of ways, Trey is exactly what they're looking for. But then you look at the Niners as well, and you say, well, they don't. I think Trey's probably a better downfield passer, but then we saw Brock actually look better than Jimmy taking shots down the field. So Brock, I think, is a better downfield passer than guys like me maybe gave him credit for. Where Brock is really good is that he gets the ball out on time, and his footwork is exemplary in the short game. So, like, all these plays where your footwork has to be absolutely perfect, and you can't have any wasted steps in the short game close to the line of scrimmage. His mechanics to get the ball out, on the right, with the right mechanics, the right footwork, the right release, on time, with touch, with accuracy. I think he's worlds ahead of Trey in that regard. So it's a different offense. It's like, I think Brock right now is a harder guy to defend if you're going to try, because he's going to be able to nickel and dime you to death and put it right on his receiver's hands. And I think Brock is going to be really, really dangerous in the red zone. But let's just say you need to pick up big chunks of yardage. Let's say you're down in the second half. He's not going to, it's going to take him more plays, I believe, to move the team down the field than Lance potentially, who can get out of the pocket and then just gun one 50 yards down the field to Danny Gray streaking across the field. Accuracy with the deep ball, though.
I'm not sure if I necessarily agree with that.
Okay. Go ahead.
Because Because I think in theory, Lance's arm strength in terms of stretching the field vertically somewhat makes a difference. But Brock's arm is plenty strong in terms of distance. It probably maxes out at 50, 55 yards. But if you're capable of throwing it that far, that's plenty strong, right? Lance can probably throw it 65, 70, but that 10 yards isn't making that much of a difference. I think that the bigger difference is that Lance can afford to be late. Brock can't, because the RPMs to me is what makes the difference in the arm strength. But Brock has shown that he can play on time. um, Now he didn't do it as much as he probably should have, but he's shown he can play with great sense of timing and rhythm, and he's accurate. And I think throwing deep in particular, Larry, is less about arm strength and more about timing. If you let the ball go at the right time with the right velocity, or the right arc, and it's that feel, then it's more about that than just your ability to let it go as far as you can let it go. And so from that standpoint, I don't know if Brock is necessarily at such a disadvantage. And he's also shown he's an aggressive decision maker despite his arm being what it is, right? You just mentioned that, when you said that it was an improvement from Jimmy. He was a more aggressive decision maker than Jimmy at times. Where
Much more
I
so.
also
I mean,
disagree
much
even
more
more.
so.
Yeah,
I mean, Jimmy was
where I disagree
Jimmy. There
even
was
more with you,
zero
Larry.
downfield attack. Jimmy did not take shots down the field. He refused to almost. Brock is looking to take shots down the field. Much more than
Yeah,
Jimmy
I agree
was.
with you. And someone in the comments is talking about that Ayuk touchdown pass. Yeah, his arm got hit as he let it go, and he still got it 40 yards. His arm is plenty strong in terms of, like, you see Tua airing it out 50, 55 yards. Brock's arm is stronger than that one. But either way, not to get in an argument about that, Larry, the one thing I disagree is in the obvious drop back situations. Like, I guess maybe Trey can get you a chunk play off schedule, but I don't know if Trey has shown the same off-schedule instincts that Brock has shown at this point. Trey, when's the last time you remember Trey Lance really getting out of the pocket, making a guy miss, and making a great throw off schedule? A lot of times he runs when he gets outside of the pocket. Now, he's had a few plays in there that are like very, very impressive plays off schedule, don't get me wrong. But in the little we've seen him, we've also seen him willing to run. Brock Purdy makes a lot of plays off schedule. Now, they're not the most physically gifted plays, but he does get outside of the pocket and he's able to make a lot of throws on the move. And then finally, I think the other thing is I think he's more proficient at this point. From what we've seen in the drop back pass game, he's more proficient. So if you are in a situation where you're down in the football game and you have to throw, Trey Lance wasn't very proficient at the drop back pass game in college. He was never even in that situation in college. I don't think he's ready for that situation. And so I understand what you mean by his physical ability perhaps giving you a better opportunity in that situation because he might create a chunk play. But I even disagree with that because I think that situation is more suited for Brock Purdy, who's experienced, who knows how to play in the drop back pass game a little bit better, who doesn't hesitate as much at this point. And it's not necessarily an indictment or an insult of Trey Lance because he hasn't played enough for us to, say he's this or he's that. But at least when it comes to the drop back pass element, Larry, that was something we had very few plays of even in college of him doing. And so that's just not something we can say he does. And they avoided a lot of those situations with him in the little he's played when they turn 3rd and 6 into a rundown or 3rd and 5 into a rundown. Like, they're throwing on those downs with Garoppolo or Purdy.
All I see, I mean, and I haven't seen enough of Trey. Of course, I've seen more than all of you, but because I'm at practice every day. But the only thing I'll say about Brock is that Brock hits the layups, right? So, like, you get a guy in the flat, he hits him. He hits him 9 out of 10 times. Trey's airmailing that 2 or 3 times. That's the only difference that I see as far as their short stuff underneath. But Trey has an advantage, I think, in that he can make defenses fear throwing the ball over their head because of the arm strength, because of the ability to drive the ball with power down the field. So that's what I see. Like the play that Trey made to Danny Gray, which he got loose down the sideline, and he didn't just hit him. he hit him in stride. He never broke stride, and nobody touched him. He basically went on. He took him up top of the coverage, and hit him in stride. That's a pass that I haven't seen Jimmy make. That's a pass that even in practice I really have not seen Purdy make. But then the Purdy advantage is that little short, that little short cross, the little 5-yard out, the little precision passes, the short stuff. He's very proficient, and he can do it through a number of different arm angles, and he can do it off schedule if he has to. And Trey misses those passes in practice at least has. So that's the only thing I see differently. I'd be very eager to talk to Shanahan about how he sees his offense. Like, what's more valuable to his offense? The quarterback with the unbelievable arm strength and the unbelievable foot speed. And I say foot speed, but I mean, I think Trey's has, I don't know what Trey runs, but I think he's pretty fast.
Me
people
too.
say, well, I don't think he's not Lamar. He's not that kind of a runner, but he is fast. And now we'll see
Larry,
post-ankle.
can I add this about
please
his
do.
running?
Yeah.
For me, you know how a lot of people say he's not as fast as they thought. They'd run him maybe with the power quarterback draw stuff because he can't necessarily get to the edge. One, the reason they do that is because that's what he did in college. This was not a zone read quarterback in college. His runs were quarterback draws, quarterback powers. That's how he ran in college.
Right.
But honestly,
and he ran over people.
Right. He ran over people. But Larry, I don't think it's a speed issue. He just has a lack of indecision when he runs. He has indecision on the field in general. In the little we've seen him as a passer, there's a little bit of hesitancy. But I think there's just an indecisiveness when he runs. I don't know if he still needs to get comfortable with the speed. I don't know if he's still getting comfortable with the run plays. But I think his lack of speed and explosion is not the fact that he's fast, because when he scrambles and he's not thinking and he's just running instinctively, he looks plenty fast to me. He's not, Lamar Jackson fast, but he's faster than 90% of quarterbacks in the NFL. I think there's, on these design run plays, there's just a hesitancy. There's an indecision where he's just not hitting the whole top gear full speed. And I think if he does, he might all of a sudden turn into an even more dangerous runner.
We got this one. People losing their mind back and forth on this. Jalen LeGrant says, Purdy is the better quarterback. People take too much stock in where you're drafted. Who's the better quarterback? Do you agree with Jalen?
Sure. I mean, based on what we've seen in the NFL, it's hard to argue against Purdy being the better quarterback. I would just like to see Lance play back-to-back games before I make any evaluation of who he is as a quarterback. And yeah.
We got this one from, maybe you can answer this for us, Vish. Chris Wall says, I don't know why my regular account doesn't show up in your chat, Larry. Might be some auto mute. Chris, you would probably know better than I, Chris. If you said something that was heinous, there's a chance somebody blocked you along the way. I believe the way this works is once you're blocked, you're kind of blocked. But yeah. I'll go with my tech guy after the show, and we'll go through and unblock the blocks. How about that? We'll let everybody back in the pool.
I will say my theory, Chris. My theory is that Larry already got you as a subscriber on your regular account. He knew you had a burner, and he was like, gosh, I got to get a second subscriber
That's
here.
That's right. Or more likely, Chris, you got drunk one night and said some shit you shouldn't have said, and I put you in your place, and now you're sitting there going, but I kind of like that show. And now you're finding a way back in with a second account, and now I'm going to unblock your first account because at the end of the day, I really don't give a shit. And I'll have everybody in the pool. I don't care how negative you are. But if you annoy me in the present, my only move is to block. Or if you put anything in the chat under your name, Chris, that was like foul. There are people that kind of drop stuff in the chat sometimes, and you have to kind of like abort, and you're deleting it, and I may have hit the wrong button. So, Chris, if I blocked you erroneously, I apologize. If you got drunk, like I said, and said some stupid shit, then maybe it's time to reflect. Maybe today could be time for some reflection on that. I'm just joking, bro. We'll get you back in. I'll get with my tech guy, and I'll let everybody back in. Jason says, but that's fixable, Larry, hitting the layups. Brock is nowhere near the ceiling of Trey. I agree. One of the things that I really loved about Trey Lance, and the reason I said the Niners should get him over the other quarterbacks that were available that year, is because I think his upside is enormous. I really do. Melody Moonfire says, here's a donation. Can't wait for both of you to be wrong about Lance.
Which way
Hey,
are we going to be wrong?
What's
Wait,
that?
I'm confused. Are we going to be wrong because he ends up being bad? Or are we going to be wrong because he ends up being good? Because I'm
I
not
think
sure which one I'm on right now.
Well, I mean, just the fact that you came out and said Purdy was the better quarterback, there's probably people right now Googling your name, figuring out ways to damage you. Um, I don't know. I don't know. I mean, for some reason, people have a hard time because I said the Niners are going to trade Trey. Suddenly that negated every positive thing I ever said about him. It's a prediction about what they're going to do. It's not me advocating trade Trey. I can't say it enough times.
I already said it. I
It's
already
sad.
told you,
It's sad.
Krug. I told you the same thing yesterday. It's when you suggest anything that challenges people or challenges the way they think, immediate ad hominem attack. Unless you're Eric Crocker, my buddy Croc. Sorry, Croc,
He
but I
gets a
gotta
free
call you
pass.
out. Right, you get a free pass. You get to say I'll trade Trey Lance for a third round pick on lockdown, and everybody will forgive you. But the moment Larry Krueger says it, they're
Oh,
coming
fuck. There's
for him.
hell to pay, man. There's hell to pay. And then you can always tell how people feel, based on their comments. We got this one from Arthur Henry. So we rocking with Sam Darnold or wet noodle arm Purdy? Who do you think that guy is a fan of?
You want to know what I
Sad.
think of sometimes at night, Larry?
Go ahead.
I think that, and I think this theory is real. I think a lot of people talk about it in the chat, but I genuinely think that the 49ers are just handling this trial basis on the quarterback position this year because their pivot in 2024 is Shanahan's love of his life being the free agent. I joke when I say love of his life, but Kirk Cousins will be a free agent in 2024. And there you go. Shanahan finally gets 8 years later the marriage that he wanted 7 years ago. He finally gets it. Like I sometimes genuinely think, like, is that what we're headed for? I hope not. Like, I hope one of Trey Lance or Brock Purdy or even Sam Darnold shows up and becomes and completely cements themselves next year as the franchise quarterback of the 49ers. But sometimes I think, like, oh my God, like, given how unlucky the quarterback situation has been for 7 years, are we just going to be stuck with that?
I wonder if Shanahan really does feel strongly about Cousins because Cousins is so mid. It's like, why would you're going to have a dream quarterback and it's such a
No,
mediocre guy.
it's just Larry. He's very smart. He makes the correct decision. He does what the coach tells him to do. He's very mechanically correct, right? Like, he plays with a great sense of timing. His feet are always in a good spot. He throws the ball accurately. He can throw to every level of the field. He's tough. Like, he just checks all the boxes they look for. He's not going to do anything off schedule, but none of these guys think their offense ever has to reach a point that it has to go off schedule. They think they're always right. They just need the quarterback who will execute every time they're right. And I think McVay looks at him that way. I think Shanahan looks at him that way. I think Matt LaFleur looks at him that way. I mean, Larry, you got to think, you put Kirk Cousins in this offense with these weapons, would he not be putting up near MVP stats? I mean, he throws
Well,
for 30 touchdowns and 8 picks every year in Minnesota. Put him in this offense, he's probably throwing for 40 touchdowns, 4,000 yards, and 10 picks every year.
I don't know. I mean, he's got pretty good weapons in the offense he's in. He's got Dalvin Cook, right? Doesn't he? I mean, isn't Dalvin Cook pretty good?
Not great protection, though. Hawkinson and Jefferson are excellent. Dalvin Cook's phenomenal, but the offense is nowhere near as creative as Shanahan.
They had
Weapons are
Thielen.
still not this good. They don't have this level of a defense either, putting them in
defense
great
terrible.
field position.
Terrible,
right.
Yeah. Their defense was 31st in the league. How about them Niners? Says, hey, Larry and Vish, are there any decent quarterbacks in this draft class that you think could last on the practice squad for emergencies without getting poached? Vish can correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe you can protect 2 people per week or something like that on the practice squad.
Yeah.
So if you had a quarterback and you put him on the practice squad, I think potentially you could protect that quarterback. As far as quarterbacks that I could see them, I went through on Twitter today and went position by position, and I'm whittling it down to the guys that I think the Niners are either interested in or could fit them. And at quarterback, I've got these 3 guys, and I probably would add a 4th. I have Max Duggan, Dorian Thompson Robinson from UCLA, Clayton Tune out of Houston, and I would add probably the kid from Louisville who I really like as well,
I
Malik
I
Cunningham.
think I think better of Toon, Thompson Robinson, and Max Duggan. Maybe not. Yeah, even Duggan's talent to think that they would just be able to last on a practice squad the way this league goes through quarterbacks for an entire year. You
But
might
if you can
have me with
protect
Malik
him,
Cunningham. I guess.
yeah.
Perhaps.
Malik Cunningham he's already graduated, smart kid, super athletic. I mean, great runner. I mean, you think we're talking about Trey's a good runner. This guy's an
Right.
awesome runner.
You
So
love Malik Cunningham.
I
This is the
do
fourth
like
time
Malik
I think you've
Cunningham.
mentioned him. Yeah.
I see a guy that we're not talking about now that we're going to be talking about in the future because he throws it well enough and he had good college success, and he's dynamic. I mean, he's dynamic as a runner. So, I mean, to me, that would be almost like the perfect guy to have as my developmental quarterback. No matter who you have at quarterback, just because I look at him as a guy with a lot of upside who's going to be good in the future. So we'll see. We'll see.
Somebody
Um,
is asking about Hayner in the chat. I don't know about you, Larry, but I'm souring on Hayner as the draft process goes a little bit. It's not that I don't love his film because he plays with incredible timing, incredible anticipation. Like he's really a good quarterback. But the more and more we talk about escapability and foot quickness being a requirement for quarterbacks, the guy just looks like he's running in quicksand. And that's where physically I don't know if he's there, right? Because the one thing with Brock Purdy, if you want to go there with Hayner, is that his foot speed was something we all underestimated. And he has real foot quickness and real escapability. And my man Hayner is a really, really good quarterback. Like he plays the position really, really well. But I feel like Larry, that lack of foot quickness just makes me sour on the idea of drafting him.
I don't know. There's a lot to like there. I mean, I would be worried about his durability. I'll say this though, he's got good zip. I mean, for a
Yeah,
6 foot quarterback, he's got a real good zip. He did nothing but win games in college, come from behind, and he did it at Fresno State. He's not doing it for Bama. He's doing it at Fresno State. It's like when you do it for TCU and you're doing it for Fresno State and you're doing it for places like that, and it's like it kind of isolates you where
he's a
it's
big
like
time competitor too.
yeah, I mean, like Alabama's going to have a quarterback next year, and he's going to have success. It
Right,
doesn't mean he's
right.
NFL. You know what I'm saying? Or Georgia's going to have a quarterback next year, and that guy's going to have success. They're going to win games. It doesn't mean that guy's NFL. So it's a lot of times you got to kind of sift through and see. As Brian Billick said to us long ago, the hardest thing to evaluate in all of football is the quarterback versus what's going on around the quarterback. And that, truer words have not never really been spoken. Um, okay, one other one that I got to get your thoughts on. Um, I was. Are you are you with me that if the Niners add another quarterback to this mix, and there's talk that they will, that quarterback will be a youngster, or are there other people suggesting, maybe the Niners may go through the draft, not add a quarterback, let the thing kind of sift through, and if Brock's not ready to go, maybe add like a Matt Ryan type guy in camp. How do you see Kyle Shanahan playing his cards at quarterback? Just assuming everybody that's here, Trey, Brock, and Darnold are all here. But let's just say, for the sake of the conversation, that Trey's here and Darnold's here competing, and Brock, let's say, is going to be out maybe 6 weeks because it could be 8, it could be 4. Let's say he's going to miss 6 weeks. If you're Kyle Shanahan, do you want to bring in a rookie quarterback who you can go practice squad with, or do you want Darnold and Trey and like a Matt Ryan?
Yeah, I don't want to go anywhere near Ryan at this point in his
Really?
career. Yeah.
Even if as a stopgap guy in the first part of the year.
I just feel like you can get that guy. He'll be available if you need to go get him mid-season. I don't think anybody's going to sign Matt Ryan. I hope they draft a quarterback, Larry. I hope they draft one. I
Orson
think they
says
should draft one
Cousins.
every year. Yeah,
Orson
that's who he
says
is. That's who he is.
Walmart Matty Ice. That's
He doesn't
awesome.
have his size. He doesn't have his same ability to throw, but that's who he is. Yeah, exactly.
So even if you would be comfortable. See, I guess I'm with you, and I'm in the camp that says go get the rookie, because what I don't want is I don't even like the fact that Darnold's here, to be honest. I really don't. I don't. I don't like that Kyle Shanahan has another option. I want him
Right,
to either play Brock Purdy or play Trey Lance.
right.
You know what I mean? And if you lose, guess what? You lose. That's okay. Then you lose. I'd rather lose in September with Trey Lance than see Trey on the sidelines and win a game with Matt Ryan or any veteran quarterback. That's where I'm at with that. If you want to go with Brock over Trey, that's fine. But I don't want to see Darnold or Matt Ryan or Joe Flacco or any just kind of stopgap veteran failure has been over Trey Lance. I want to see Kyle forced to play Trey Lance. That's what I want to see.
Right, and you said that I think well before free agency, you wanted them to kind of situate their situation that way. You wanted them to just go into the draft and get a young quarterback that would be non-threatening, if I remember correctly, to Trey Lance. You didn't want him to even be very talented, because I remember I suggested the DTRs of the world, and you said nope, too talented. Go even get even worse than that. But
well, that's what I like about Malik Cunningham, is that Cunningham is so developmental that he wouldn't really threaten for the starting job. Where DTR's played 6 years.
yeah, DTR has played a lot.
He's played a lot, or at least
Yeah.
5. He's played 5 full collegiate years. So he's more ready to go. He's more ready to play right now. So that's my only thing on that. I don't want to delay Trey's development anymore just because we're like sitting there hedging. Hey, you know what? What if Matt Ryan is going to be able to identify coverage? I don't care.
You know what I think it is though, Krug? I think they're making it clear they don't want to give him a year to develop. Like it sounds like they were gonna just give him 2022, and it was just because of where they drafted him, they were giving him that year. Otherwise, they weren't planning to give it to him at all, perhaps. And they gave him that year. Unfortunately, he got hurt. And now it would seem like I understand, like you and I have said it all over this offseason. If Purdy wasn't hurt, it would make sense why Lance would just be in a backup role, right? Now that Purdy's hurt, it feels like you can just resume whatever plan you had in 2022 and see how it plays out until Purdy comes back with Lance. But they don't really seem to be embracing that either. They seem to just be opening it up where they're keeping the door open for Trey Lance to magically get way better this offseason. I don't know how that's going to happen. They don't seem to know how that's going to happen, but they're keeping the door open that it does happen. But they seem to be resigned to the fact that they're not going to play Trey Lance if he isn't the best quarterback in training camp this offseason. If Sam Darnold plays better than him in training camp, it sounds like they're not going to just play Trey Lance because they want to see how he can develop. They're just going to play Sam Darnold. That's how I'm getting the vibe from the way they're talking.
Kid Icarus, big Iron Maiden fan, Flight of the Icarus. Kid Icarus 5 says, unbelievable arm strength. Come on, Larry, what metrics are you using? I'm using these metrics right here. These metrics, my eyes, and these metrics, my ears. I stood like from here to, 15, 20 feet away from Trey during one period of camp where he was throwing. You can hear the throws.
Yeah, his arm strength is unbelievable. There's no doubt he has a howitzer. Yeah,
his arm speed makes noise through the wind. I mean, you could hear his throws. So,
Brent Jones is not happy with you.
Where is it? On the bottom?
If that's the real Brent Jones, sounds like he does not think Trey Lance has a strong arm.
Let's see. Where is it?
It's at the bottom. He says your eyes suck.
Where is it? Did I miss it? Did I go back?
It's right under
Gammon Brown. Is it higher than Gammon Brown? Lower?
It's below Gammon Brown. With the bet, yeah, it's below that.
Let's see. Greg is Khan. Yeah, I'd be surprised to see how
above
convinced
that.
Larry is about his prediction.
It's above that.
Is he $1,000 convinced? Brent Jones.
Ah.
Brent Jones, your eyes suck. LOL. That ain't my man, Brent. That ain't my Oklahoma man, Brent Jones. Now my eyes are pretty trained at this point. And not only that, it's not just eyes, it's really more ears. Because if you stand right there, you can hear it. You can hear
That's one
the
I'm not
arm
even
speed and the
understanding.
power.
Like, I'm not even understanding. It should be. I feel like it's kind of undisputable that he has a ridiculous arm in terms of just pure power. Yeah, his arm has crazy power.
I love this one. Arthur Henry. Krugs can't see or pick quarterbacks. Really? In 2005, I'm going to town about how the Niners need to draft Aaron Rodgers and not Alex Smith. To the point when they took Alex Smith, and I'm in on the KMBR broadcast, in the war room, in the conference room, waiting for Mike Nolan and Mike McCarthy to come in to explain their decision. And I put my head on the table and I'm just like, no, I can't believe I just saw that. So
What
I
did
knew
you
which
see in
quarterback.
Rodgers? What did you like about Rodgers that you didn't like about Smith?
Rodgers wasn't one of the best quarterbacks I've ever seen in college. You know, against USC on a 105-degree day in the Coliseum, he completed like 16 passes in a row and was like 23 of 24 on the day. And Cal almost beat that SC team that was stacked, that had Dwayne Jarrett, Reggie Bush, Matt Leinart, the tight end Bird, Lendale White. I mean, they had all kinds of dudes, and
Those
Cal almost beat
linebackers.
them. And then Aaron Rodgers is just. I watched Aaron Rodgers, all throughout Cal. Of course, I know Jeff Tedford. Had many conversations with Jeff about Rodgers' talent. Many of the NFL scouts at the time didn't like the fact that Tedford had coached Rodgers
Right, they
to
held the
have the
ball way
ball
up here.
way up here, and it was almost kind of like straining to keep the ball up there. And there were a lot of people that marked him down on that. The Niners marked him down supposedly because he was too cocky. I mean, my God, you
Smith
need
was impressive at Utah, though, right?
Smith
Like
was Smith
Dan
was an
Mullen was running the
awesome,
spread for the first time there, and
but
Smith and they won so many games at Utah too.
But Smith was coming out of a gimmicky offense, and if you remember at the time, his college head coach was Urban Meyer.
Urban
And
Meyer,
Urban
Dan
Meyer
Mullen, they
came
ran the
out.
spread.
Right, and they came out. Urban Meyer came out and said that Alex Smith was going to be almost like non-functional until he totally learned every part of the offense. Also, I just thought of that as a gimmicky offense where there had to be a transition for Alex. Clearly, there was. Where the other guy, Rodgers coming out of the Pac-12, and the same way I like these quarterbacks like a Max Duggan, and I don't like him like Rodgers, but the fact that Max Duggan won at TCU, Rodgers won games at Cal. I mean, they were in the national championship race there for a while. So to me, Rodgers was here and Smith was here. Now, Smith was great in that great paper prospect. Graduated in 2 years, econ degree, super smart, highest
20-year-old.
Wonderlic, taller, 6'4" versus 6'2". Great athlete, wonderful kid. Total leader. I mean, there were a lot of things to really like about Alex Smith.
Right.
But I loved Aaron Rodgers way more. I said it at the time. I had his agent on Sports Phone 680 the night before the draft to talk all about it. I was convinced they were going with Rodgers. I was convinced after talking to the agent that they even wanted Rodgers, but just didn't want to be called cheap. So they were trying to make that trade, Alex Smith for Rodgers with Tampa. Tampa backed out after they fell in love with Cadillac Williams at the All-Star at the Senior Bowl, and they went with Cadillac.
Overall.
They took him, I think, 5th, and that was it. Once that pick was happened, they brought Nolan in to talk to us. And if you remember at that time, there was like 20 or 30 minutes between each pick. So the Niners picked one, took Alex Smith. Did they come in immediately and say, hey, here's Alex Smith, our number one guy? No. They waited till the number 2 pick. They waited till the number 3 pick. They waited till the number 4 pick. We're literally sitting in this room for an hour. People are like, why aren't they coming in? Why aren't they coming in? Then Tampa goes on the clock. They pick Cadillac Williams. 10 seconds later, 20 seconds later, Mike Nolan walks in. Alex Smith's our guy. I'm like, why did you wait till the 5th pick to come in here? Oh, well, we have a lot going on in the war room. Bullshit. They had a deal worked out. I talked to Mike Sullivan, the agent for Rodgers. He told me, he said, hey, Niners didn't want to be called cheap. we were going to come in for a cheaper amount. Tom Condon read the room, said we want record-setting money. He made it a referendum on Dr. York's cheapness and frugality, and that's why Condon's a great agent. And the Niners wind up going with Smith.
Interesting. That's crazy.
And you can
That is crazy.
Go talk to go interview. You can go find Mike Sullivan, the agent. I think he worked for Denver in their front office for a while. I don't know if he's still an agent, but he's out there somewhere. He'll tell you that story. He'll tell you the truth. That was the story.
Cadillac Williams did go 5th. I think Cedric Benson went 4th.
Yeah, Cadillac
Braylon
Williams.
Edwards was 3rd, and Ronnie Brown went 2nd. And Cadillac Williams was the Rookie of the Year.
And Cadillac Williams also, Tampa's coaching staff had coached the Senior Bowl that year. So they had all this one-on-one with Cadillac, and they fell in love with him. And they just didn't have the conviction on Smith anyway, I guess, and they made the trade.
The one thing I will say about Smith is I think if he came out today with his skill set, it would be way easier for him to transition into the NFL. Like, it would be so much better for a quarterback coming from the spread today. Before they took him from the spread and they stuck him under center and put him in an antiquated 2-back, 2 tight end offense, and or 2-back, 1 tight end, 2 receiver, 21-22 personnel offense, and force him to play under center. And I remember the first part of Smith's career, the only time Smith looked natural playing quarterback was when he was in the 2-minute drill and things were spread out. There was less communication. He was just allowed to operate as a quarterback. Now, he became very good from condensed formations later in his career, but it took him a while. And I do think Rodgers dodged a bullet. The situation the 49ers gave Smith, to me, is the worst situation any young quarterback has ever had to suffer through. The 7 coordinators in 7 years, the 2 head coaches, Mike Nolan questioning his toughness when his shoulder was ripped in half. All of those things were complete bullshit. Singletary was one of the worst coaches. Yeah, the Troy Smith debacle. Mike Martz playing JT O'Sullivan because he loved him like a son. All of it. They screwed Alex Smith over.
Only Harbaugh rescued him. And then eventually Andy Reid took him to that next level. And who knows? Maybe maybe Smith would have gotten to a Super Bowl if he had been given a couple more years in Kansas City before his leg got. I mean, what happened in Washington was just terrible. Was just absolutely terrible.
That was brutal. I will say this about Smith, Larry.
Yeah.
I think if he doesn't go through what he went through in San Francisco and he starts his career in a better situation, I don't think he would have ever been as good as Rodgers, who ended up winning 4 MVPs and all of that. But a guy who turned his career from that to becoming, like an average to above average starting quarterback, if he never rips his shoulder in half, if he starts off and gains confidence from year one, rather than going through the 7 years of hell, I think his career is even a lot better than what it turned out. And he had a pretty good career. He had 3 big contracts from 2 different teams. So, yeah.
And a great guy. And then I did a bunch of TV with him on draft night that year, and then I'm sitting there feeling bad because I'm like, I was so pissed that they drafted him. And
did you rip him?
Well, no, I met him, and I'm like, I met his mom, and I met his dad and his family, and I'm like, dude, I can see why the Niners like this kid. I mean, he's smart, he's athletic, played at Helix High in San Diego with Reggie Bush. He was great in high school, he was great in college. But I just was a Rodgers head, man. I was all in on Aaron Rodgers at the time, and I was just crestfallen. I mean, to the point where Bob Agnew, the program director at KMBR, was like, Krug, if you don't pull your head off this table and regroup for the rest of the show, I'm just sending you home for the rest of the show. And I'm like, Bob, they fucked up. They should have taken Rodgers. And he's like, that's it. That's enough. That's enough. And I mean, I was pissed. I was absolutely
That's an
pissed.
All-time story. So the bottom line is, Larry, I think that guy was right. You don't know what you're talking about.
I don't know shit. Michael Atlanta says, Trey's had his chances. He needs a fresh start somewhere else. John and Kyle said Purdy's earned the job. However, people are sleeping on Darnold. Front office foamed at the mouth over him in 2018. Okay. We got this one from Justin. He says the 49ers have been trying to run it back for years. I believe they need to do something big to get them over the hump. See what the Warriors did before they won championships. What could be big for them?
Aaron Rodgers. Tom Brady. Coax him out of retirement.
Maybe it's trading Trey Lance for a pick that turns into Michael Mayer. What if Michael Mayer, you know what they call Michael Mayer, right? Baby Gronk. What if Michael Mayer is Gronk? If Gronk were in this draft and you could add Gronk
You
to the
think
Niner
he's Gronk,
offense,
Larry? I don't know if I would go
they
that
call him
far.
Baby Gronk.
But he's not.
That's his nickname. His nickname's Baby
He's
Gronk. He's badass.
he's
I love
big,
him.
but he's not 6'7", 270.
No,
And he's
not.
powerful, but he's not that powerful. And he's fast for his size, but Gronk's size, speed, athleticism was different. He's a really good player. I also like Kincaid. I think Kincaid's an absolute superstar too.
I like
Both
Kincaid
of them,
too. Here's my problem with Kincaid. I don't know that he's got the best genes. And when I say that, in that, I just think that he's had injuries. He's a little bit linear. He looks to me like he's maybe not a pro athlete. Like maybe he's a collegiate athlete that's kind of pumped up. I'm worried about injuries. The tight ends that I like, that I could see them going with, Michael Mayer, if they could trade, probably trade and move up. Otherwise, Payne Durham from Purdue, terrific. Tucker Kraft from South Dakota State, terrific. Braden Willis from Oklahoma, Davis Allen from Clemson, Sam Laporta from Iowa.
I love Laporta.
The sleeper tight end for the Niners, I think, in this draft, it's the Stanford wide receiver, Elijah Higgins.
He's a tight end?
Yeah, he's a tight end. I mean, he's a movement player for sure. He is. I mean, that could be a great pick. That could be a 7th round steal.
Are you saving him from becoming JJ? I don't know the player at all. I'm making a joke, but are you saving him from being JJ Arcega-Whiteside? Are you trying to save him from being that?
Then they tried to move him to tight end, but this guy's actually got a little bit more. JJ Arcega-Whiteside was 220 and needed to probably trim out to like 215. Instead, he got up to 225 and just became kind of a slowish wide receiver. This guy's 235 walking around, and if you put a little weight on him, you might be able to get him to 240. Yeah.
I'm with you though on Mayer. I'm with you. Mayer's an absolute superstar. I don't know if I would go to Gronk, but yeah, he's a stud for sure.
Baby Gronk. Mark Graves. The Niners will pick up Tom Brady if they get off to a slow start. I could see him in week 8. Oh God.
Sure.
Man.
I'm here for it. I'm not saying no to Tom Brady.
Oh man, I don't know. Can we go there? Okay, we got, let's see, one here. Let's get to this one. Jalen LeGrant. He says, I think the talk that Lance has no value is dumb. Sam Darnold got a 3rd round pick from the Panthers and he was trash. He's at least a third rounder or a player. Yeah, I don't know.
Darnold was a 2, 4, and a 6.
Yeah, I was gonna say maybe even more. Than a 3rd. So yeah, there's no doubt Trey's worth a 3rd. I don't know if they're going to trade him, but I think he's definitely worth a 3rd round draft choice. I mean, no.
But you want them to trade him, right, Larry?
No. No, I don't. Oh my God. We got this one. Justin Schratweiser. Krug, a rookie is the biggest thing you got? What is that? I'm not sure what that means.
Because he's the one who donated, asking what's the big move, the Warriors move. That's why I said Rodgers. That's why I said.
Okay, well, what's Brady. A big move? What's a big move that they can? They're hugged up against the cap. It's got to be a draft move. It's not going to be a free agent move.
It's got to be
their big move was Javon Hargrave.
I think, yeah, I agree. But I think Justin wants a couple bites at the apple. So perhaps you can say, Krug, don't you want them to sign Yannick Ngakoue? How about that? Opening up $8 million in cap space by restructuring Christian McCaffrey and go hand Yannick Ngakoue a 1-year deal.
I could go with Ngakoue. I also like Leonard Floyd.
Yes.
I don't see a lot of difference makers left in free agency. Everybody in here knows I was hardcore on C.J. Gardner-Johnson.
I think Floyd is.
You think so? You think that's a significant...
Yeah, on this defense, I think he would be a massive difference maker. I think Ngakoue would be too. But we don't know where Drake Jackson is, so it's easy for us to throw these established names around. Perhaps the Niners could think that the way Drake Jackson looks this offseason, he's going to be better than Ngakoue and Floyd.
Let me hit some starred chats before we end this thing. Balboa Becker, 100% Krug. A-Rod... Aaron Rodgers was the beginning of the decade of mistakes. Super disappointing, and why not take the local guy? Yeah, I mean, no, seriously. Aaron Rodgers went to the Niners and was begging them to draft him, and they thought he was too cocky Too cocky? Too cocky? Let
Grew
me
up
say
in
this.
Chico, California. Show the picture of him with the flag and the Niners helmet. How many times are we going to see that?
Dude, and there is no such thing as being too cocky. Confidence, you need confidence. You show me the guy who's like, I don't know. I hope I can get it done. That guy sucks every time. Give me the guy who's like, man, I'm the alpha in this bitch. You know, this is my team. This is my field. You know, I mean, every great corner I've ever met is super cocky. Confidence, you need confidence. To me, confidence, never be turned off on a prospect that you like because he's confident, right? I mean, come on. Gaiman Brown, I bet Larry $1,000 that USD, what's USD?
He's saying $1,000 US.
Oh, okay, $1,000 that Lance is our starting quarterback week 1. Larry thinks Lance will be traded by the draft. If he's wrong, he owes me his channel.
Ooh.
Fair bet.
Larry's channel is worth a little bit more than $1,000.
Yeah, try $100,000. How about that? You want
gaming?
I'm not. You think this channel's worth $1,000? You know, do you see that scroll on the bottom of the screen? There's $1,000 sitting right there for you. This channel's worth a lot more than $1,000.
He wants you to put your money where your mouth is, Larry. Basically, he wants you to be so confident in your reading of the tea leaves that you think you'll
I'm just reading tea leaves.
You're gonna have your channel plus $1,000.
Hey, look, if I was hanging out in the Niner facility every day and I had people whispering in my ear that were making these decisions, then I'd bet you. I'm not that confident in my prediction that I'm going to bet $1,000 on it. If I was, I would bet it. I'm not, so I won't. Peter Gorman says Stetson Bennett in the 7th round. Do you like Stetson Bennett? He looked good at the combine.
Dude, he was ripping it in the combine, but his film is so underwhelming. Underwhelming.
Smitty, Larry giving out much love to the Louisville quarterback. Only Louisville quarterback we need to get is the ex-Louisville quarterback, Lamar Jackson. You already heard Shanny. Ain't happening. Fork-tailed Devil, Larry and Vish. Check out quarterback Tyson Bagent. Dude, there's a lot. Look at this one. Hey, Zeus. Larry, you like quarterback Tyson Bagent? I don't. I've looked at him. I don't like him. I'm not sure what everybody else is seeing. There's a lot of people who are. There's a lot of Bagent support. Who's better? Who's the better scout? Krueger Vish. Oh, probably
Krug, who's an actual scout.
Kaiser says,
I don't have Shepherd University film. How am I supposed to watch Tyson Bagent?
I was going through my Shepherd film, and I saw Mary and Joseph stopping by. We've got this one.
Mary and Joseph.
Kaiser says how Krueger can end his shows. Until next time, you're lazy, Larry. You know what, Kaiser? I like that. I might just call myself, you're fucking lazy. That might be my out. Jason Alvarez, as much as I like Krueger, I just wonder if he would eat his words about Brock if the league figures him out. It's a fair question. Dude, what do you think this is? You think the league didn't try this year? You think you think it's not like a Rubik's Cube? Look, I did it. You know, there's nothing to figure out. It's not like he's the secret sauce. You know what I mean? He's just playing the position. There's no secrets here. There's no magic trick. That's the one thing I hate to say it, Jason, that's a slap at Brock Purdy to say that it's magic. It ain't fucking magic, man. It ain't. I mean, it just ain't. MF, I want to see Trey do well in a regular season game. Okay. Tommy Dong. Is that really your last name, Tommy? Lance is not overanalyzed. Lance has been constantly criticized. I don't.
No, I don't even. I don't even
true.
know if he's been constantly criticized. He's definitely been criticized more than a quarterback should be that has played as much as he's played. But I've kind of noticed that the 49ers quarterback position, it's probably like one of the lesser talked about pressure positions. Everyone talks about playing quarterback in Dallas. From what I've been able to observe from Twitter, playing quarterback in San Francisco seems to be equally under the limelight, given the history and all of that. So I think it's just the microscope that being the quarterback of the 49ers.
I agree. And by the way, who's criticizing him? Mike Lombardi? A couple of football people along the way, but not too many people. I haven't seen too much criticism. Scotch says,
Ooh.
well, I mean, Scotch says, Larry, you can only pick one: pig in a pickle, brisket,
He's
chili,
asking you to pick between your two eyes, your
or New
children.
York style sausage. Which one? You know what I would do is I'd get some New York style sausage, dice it up, and just throw it in the brisket chili. Yeah, you can never have enough meat in the chili. That's my answer, and I'm sticking to it. MF, Giants win, Giants win. My God, the Giants hit the long ball today. All right, now we're getting to Vish. Greg says Vish looks like he just came in from a bender. All In says Vish looks 5 years older today. Green Glass Full says Vish sporting some new facial hair. Vish,
I
is
was
this
sporting it yesterday.
is this? Oh, so this is not 1 day growth.
No, this is like 4 days growth. Come
I
on,
was gonna say, dude,
5 days maybe. I don't grow. It frustrates me because I just don't grow facial hair that well, and I would like to. Sometimes I just let it grow just to see if it's growing
can we
any
go? Can you
better.
go
Now
side
that
to
I've
side?
shaved
Can
a
we
few
see the
times,
sides here? What do the sides
I
look
don't know
like?
if I don't know if I can reveal that for the camera here,
Can you go
Larry.
mutton chop? Are you going to go straight muttons down here? That
No. I don't get enough on this on the. See,
oh,
I
there
don't
you
get
go.
enough. Yeah, I
So you're
got
a
a
little.
little bit of some, but not enough. No.
See, my whole thing is I shave here and I shave here, and then I'll leave some down
Oh,
here.
so you leave the Colin Kaepernick goatee.
I like just the bottom, and I don't like the right here. I don't like the soul patch. I just like the, a little bit of gray, but
So
no
you
must.
like the
I don't
little
like the
Colin Kaepernick
mustache.
chin strap? You
Yeah,
remember when
I'll go.
Kaepernick had it?
I like some chin fuzz, but I like being clean shaven, man. I don't like the feeling of a beard. And my beard looks terrible, by the way. It just comes in and just makes me look terrible. It makes me look worse than I am, which is
Mine
hard to
does
do.
too, but I grow it out because sometimes I'm vain and I think that I can grow a beard, and it turns out I can't every time I try.
Chris Wall. Chris is back on his burner. He says, Larry, can you speak on Keaton Mitchell? You turned me on to him, and I hope Kyle is enamored with him as I am, banging the
Ooh.
table. Yeah,
You
I
gotta
mean,
unblock Chris, Larry. This is
I
come
know,
on.
Chris. I mean, not just Chris. Everybody else who I fucking blocked, I'll unblock you. I'll unblock you at some point. It's
He won't mute though. Only block, no muting.
no, there'd be no muting. Seriously, I mean, the only person I would mute would be like somebody who I worked with on radio who annoys the shit out of me, but I don't want him to necessarily know that he annoys the shit out of me. So I'll just
Wow, you're walking it back now.
So no, I mean I'm telling you, I'm giving you a glimpse into the soul of Larry Krueger. I will not. The only people I will mute would be people that are like either friends or past friends, and I don't want to mute them because I don't want to insult them. But like, if just somebody pisses me off, I'm not the passive aggressive. I'm gonna mute you. You're. I'm gonna. You're eliminated, but you don't know you're eliminated. Come on, come on. No, if I'm gonna take the time to say you're blocked, I'm gonna shout it at the top of my on the top of my lungs. You're fucking blocked. All right, you're blocked. No, you're muted. You're muted. You don't know you're blocked, but you're blocked. That kind of passive aggressive garbage is weak. We got
Good to
this
know.
one. Glenn Human says the Pig in a Pickle sponsorship is worth $100,000 by itself, all by itself. Here we go. We got this one. Marquez Harris, Larry, or Marcus Harris, Larry. I like your piece on Max Duggan. It was spot on. Thank you.
What
I worked
piece?
on that one. I did a video on Max Duggan and I put it out on the YouTube channel. I think that's gonna do it, Vish. Dude, we're an hour and 9 minutes in. Vish, we got 350 people hanging out in the room still. We could probably go for another hour, but I've got other stuff I got to do. I know you got other stuff you got to do. Tell people what you got going the rest of the day or the rest of the week on the Vish Kumaran Show channel.
Probably nothing, to be honest with you. I get done with the stream and I'm like, all right, I'm gonna figure something out for the weekend. And then next thing I know, Saturday's already here and I haven't planned anything. So I just wait till Tuesday when you and I stream. Of course, I'm now streaming on Mondays on my channel. The stream that used to go on just the Gold Standard Network with me and Rob is also on my channel as well. So make sure you tune in there. 10 a.m. Pacific. You can start your day off with Rob and I on Mondays.
And
Good
this is
start to your
Rob
Monday.
who? Rob who?
Stats Guerrera, who just got,
Okay. Yeah.
bodied by Kittle on Twitter today.
So let's finish with that. Stats Guerrera put out a thing. Somebody else put out a thing saying that they were reading into. They were looking
George
at
Kittle. So George Kittle liked
Trey's
the video
throwing.
of Trey's throwing, and Coach Yak put on Twitter, like, look at Kittle liking the video of Trey's throwing.
And then Coach Yak started getting some hate, but then because Kittle kind of bodied him a little bit, but then Coach Yak was going hardcore harsh on some of those people coming at him. He was just like, Coach Yak wasn't hearing it, man.
No.
Don't mess with Coach Yak.
Wait, what?
I don't know. I saw somebody shoot back a negative comment at Coach Yak, and next thing I know, he's dropping F-bombs and sounding like Larry Krueger suddenly.
Oh, okay.
I don't know. But then Kittle, then wait,
Kittle
Rob put out a thing. Yeah, Rob said Kittle's not going to be here. Through the end of his deal,
Rob
and
Rob responded to the GIF that Kittle posted.
Okay.
Saying Kittle responded to Coach Yak with a GIF saying, like, you're reading into people's likes on Twitter, and it was like a funny GIF,
right, which is awesome. That's funny.
Then Rob responded saying, I have more respect for you now that you use this GIF. I guess Rob likes whatever particular show this is. Then Kittle out of nowhere responds with, like, thank you. And it's a screenshot of Rob's tweet saying George Kittle won't finish his contract with the 49ers.
And what was Kittle's response to that?
He didn't respond to it. It was just completely unprovoked. Rob just complimented his interest in whatever Kittle gifted about, and Kittle was like, all right, Rob, you're taking it from me today.
I think Kittle's going to be here long term. And if I'm Kittle, I mean, and I think everybody knows that Kittle had this awesome production under Brock this year, with Brock, I should say, way better than he ever was under Jimmy. And I think Kittle knows that, and he also knows that he wants to support Trey and he wants to support Brock, their teammates. You know what I mean? Everybody's pulling the rope the same direction. So I think he's throwing some love to Trey. That's all that was. And then people were just reading into it. So anyway, it's fun. I'll say this, man. We got people going back and forth. Brad got into it the other day with Raj about thumbnails.
Oh yeah, that was crazy. Yeah, I did see that.
And I like both those guys. I'm a Brad guy, and I'm a Raj guy. So I mean, it's like as the world turns.
I guess it makes sense for the two of them to be somewhat competitive because they're both literally in the same space. Yeah, but I've interacted with Raj here and there very briefly. He's a cool
Raj
guy.
is solid, and Brad is solid.
Same with Brad. So I don't know.
Those guys I love those guys. I like both those guys a lot. I mean, seriously, if I was doing like a huge Niner roundtable with all my favorites, Brad Graham's definitely there. You're definitely there.
Oh, I appreciate
definitely Raj is in the house. Definitely. So hopefully those guys can figure it out. We'll leave you with this last one. Orson, money idea. Larry, Vish, and Grant together once a week. You're welcome. I don't know, man. I don't know. I think the Vish Grant reunion show in and of itself may break YouTube. I mean, seriously, you guys may bust out the whole thing.
Who knows? Who knows?
People are like, don't invite Grant. Look at that, Gregus. See, now you know Grant's got real estate in your head, Gregus.
See, you say don't invite him, but we all know you really want to invite him.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. What was it? Was it T.O.'s you hate to love me, or I love to hate you, or what was T.O.'s?
I know what you're talking about, but I don't know the exact line.
That's my quarterback.
That's all time. While doing the sit-ups. Or what about the sit-ups on his driveway?
That's my quarterback. That's my quarterback. With the fatigues.
What was it like covering Terrell Owens? I got to ask you.
I did the T.O. show every week when he was a rookie. He was quiet. He was totally quiet. Then somebody got in his ear and his ego just... I would say, Vish, the one thing a compliment I can say to anybody that I really believe this about, say, man, you're the same guy every day. Like, I've known you for a while now. You're the same guy. literally, T.O. was a different guy. Not every day, but like from rookie year to second year, third year, fourth year. First year, he was like really quiet, really calm, really super, aw shucks, I'm just here, just trying to. Year 2, year 3, boom. All of a sudden, it's like, I'm the man up in this beast. It was a different deal. Ron Holder says, Larry, will you go live all 3 days of the draft? Ron? Yes. You got it. We're going to go live during the draft. All right,
all
Vish.
3 days. Krug, he's having
I don't know if I can
overtime. Yeah.
Well, I'm definitely going to go first round. I'm definitely going to go round 2 and round 3. Dave, round 2 and round 3. But day 3, which is all freaking day,
So
I'm not sure.
The reason I asked you about T.O. is I noticed a lot of people in the chat are talking about like, oh, he was a good kid back in the day. Because like that's what any Niners fan that I've met that actually like lived through Terrell Owens getting drafted by the 49ers, they have like a soft spot for Terrell Owens because apparently like my dad even says like he used to be like so humble. He was sad that he caught 20 balls on Jerry Rice Day because he took the shine from Jerry Rice. I think, or he didn't start, I think, on Jerry Rice Day. And let Jerry Rice and J.J. Stokes start.
And then he caught 20 balls.
Yeah. That's what it was. And so, like, there's, like, a soft spot. And then there's me. And I think Terrell Owens is one of the greatest receivers ever. Don't get me wrong. Like, as a player, he was awesome. But everything I heard growing up from the media was team obliterator and all of that BS. So it's always funny to hear, or it's nice to hear a different perspective on a player whose career was rather polarizing, as it turns out.
No doubt. Someone says, where's Ratty? Man, I got to call Ratty. I just got to call Ratty. You know what I got to do is
Ratty?
That's Gary Radnich. I got to go bump into Ratty in West Portal, and I got to just say, Ratty, come on, let's get
like
you on the
Jimmy?
show.
He's like Jimmy, where you have to run into him to talk to him. You can't text him.
No, I could text him. I should call him. I got to call him. It's been too long. I got to check in with him. All right, man. I'm gonna let you go. By the way, Vish, you're the best. Seriously, man. Always love having you on the channel. We never have bad streams. We've never had a stream where I said, "Man, that just was a bomb."
Hey! Knock on wood.
There you go.
All right, there we
brother.
go. Thanks as always, Larry. See you next Tuesday.
Sounds good. The great Vish Kumaran. All right, we're brought to you by Pig in a Pickle. I want everybody in the chat. There's over 300 people sitting here right now. Join me in 4 minutes on the Damon Bruce Plus channel. I'm going over there with Damon. But first, a word from our sponsors. Pig in a Pickle, best barbecue in Northern California. Check them out right here.
So New York Style Sausage was started over 70 years ago. We are the largest producer of fresh Italian sausage on the West Coast.
What makes our sausage in New York Style is really the recipe came from back east, from New York, from Connecticut.
If you look at all of our labels, there's maximum 4 or 5 ingredients, which we're really proud of.
There's no preservatives, No MSG, fresh in, fresh out.
The pork comes in fresh, goes out fresh. There's never any freezing throughout the process. We've always used fine quality cuts. We're never gonna deter from that. It's one of the reasons why our sausage is so good. I guarantee you put our sausage up against anybody else's from a flavor standpoint, no one will beat it, hands down.
Hey, do yourself a favor and do me a favor. Go buy a package of the New York style Italian sausage. Guaranteed you will love it. Guaranteed.
All right, thanks to everybody in the chat. Fun chat with Vish, fun stream, I should say. Join me right now. I'm going to join Damon Bruce in a minute, like literally 1 minute from now, on the Damon Bruce Plus channel on YouTube. He just started it out. Check him out. Give it a listen. Later on tonight at 6 o'clock, Jesse Naylor stops by. Love Jesse. He'll be by at 6 tonight on the Krug Show. Be there for it. I'll be there. You'll be there. It's going to be a great day. Giants win in Chicago. Tomorrow's opening day. All is right with the fucking world.
Yeah, never met a man I've been scared of. Careful, you gon' get exactly what you asked for. Here for whatever you bring me, getting handled. I answer to no one, I don't need to hassle. Yeah.